All right. So we are on the air. Chicka-cha. Um,
Damn.
yeah, Josh was unable to be here this week, so filling in as the ever so lovely Hoosier.
Oh, you're very nice, very nice. Like I always say, long time caller. Now it's been like a fifth time caller, so I love it. Fifth time caller, long time listener, fifth time caller. Happy to be here,
One
dude.
time, fifth time. Um, yeah, no, it's cool to have you. I don't know if we've ever done one where it's just you and I, so this is cool.
Yeah, I'm pumped up for it. I mean, it's sad to not have Josh here. He is the one half of the World Tag Team Podcast Champions. So
Oh,
that's
you mean
right.
the Get Valiant podcast tag team champions? um, Yeah, so as we were talking about, as we like right before we went live, I don't think there's really much in the way of news. Um, there weren't any really big announcements or anything this last week. The only thing is, well, what you were talking about, the theater premiere of the Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe as a movie, which I wish I could have gone to.
Yeah, that looked pretty cool. I mean, there's a lot of the crew was there. I think they said everybody but John Morrison and JDF. So that looked like fun. I mean, lots of people there: Michael Rowe, Derek Thaler, Sierra Foster. And I guess the other news. I mean, I think we talked about it. I mean, obviously, we broke the news on Get Valiant last week of that Ninjak versus is going to be up for a lot longer than what we.
Yeah, yeah, it's going to be like 6 months is the word on the street right now. Um, so hopefully it does stay up for a long time. The longer the better, in my humble opinion. Um, yeah, I definitely don't want it to go away. Um, the weird thing that was going on, and maybe other people out there know more about the whole situation than me. I know that there was a post in one of the main Valiant fan groups on Facebook with links to download all the episodes, and it was pretty well encouraged actually for a better part of a day for everybody to go and download it so that it wouldn't disappear. And then one of the admins went in the group, I believe, deleted that post and then said that it was illegal. And I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that they, in case it wants to go for sale or the contracts with, comicbook.com, they might want to make sure that it's not, I guess pirated. I don't know. Typically the deal if it's done like that through other sources. So I'm not sure. I mean, like I saw that too. And then I saw that the Valiant fans Facebook page monitor kind of said, not here. So
Yeah. So I don't know anything about the legality of that whole situation. I'm not going to pretend to be a lawyer or know anything about property rights. So I certainly hope I didn't do anything illegal, and I certainly hope that there's not anybody getting in trouble for anything. But at the same time, I do want this series to live on. And whatever way, I'm glad it's going to stay on comicbook.com, but whatever way necessary, I just hope that people can continue watching it. So the whole last week, this is something I wanted to ask you, Hoosier, because you, even more than myself, spent that entire last week kind of basing every day around what was going on with Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe. And now we've had like another week to kind of absorb it all and take it all in. Now that it's a little bit in the rear view and you can kind of take a fresher look at it, how do you feel about it now? Like, what are your thoughts?
Well, we're still seeing some of the aftermath on Hoodoo TV because we did reaction videos for every episode. You were on, 5 of the 6 with us. And that first video we did of the reactions, I mean, it's gotten, 1,000 plus, almost 2,000 views coming up. And we're seeing people like continuously watch it. And like we're every day there's, 30 something views just on that video. And so, I mean, to that, I think it's really cool because, I mean, we're maybe getting a fraction of the people that actually watch the real show
Right.
watching our reaction. So that to me just shows that that video itself has likely got the Ninjak versus show has likely got a lot of traction going. There's probably a lot of people that have watched it. If we're continue seeing, like I say, 30 to 50 views a day on the episode 1 reactions, really cool. Looking back on it, I haven't rewatched it all simultaneously yet. I've watched an episode here or there, and it's still really cool to kind of see those characters you enjoy kind of played out. So like I've showed it to people. I've had people that haven't watched it or anything Valiant, and they've kind of enjoyed it and they thought the characters were really cool. And so I mean that's fun. I mean some of them say it's definitely not Avengers, which that's for darn sure, right? I mean,
Agreed.
you mean for the price they did, you couldn't pay for one of their costumes almost. It seemed like for how much Avengers was, but it was cool. And it's just been a comic time. I think the Avengers kind of doled it out already a little bit, but as Valiant fans, excited for it. So
Yeah, it's crazy that like I didn't really realize as it was going on that this was coming out at the same time as Infinity War coming, and yeah, that was crazy as well. Yeah, for anybody who hasn't gone to comicbook.com, if you haven't seen Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe yet, I cannot recommend enough going to see it, and then let your opinion of it be heard. Obviously, if you have a negative opinion of it, you're more than welcome to, speak your mind in that regard. And if you have a positive opinion of it and want to see more, get a hold of Valiant. Let them know that you want more, because I don't know that, talking to Aaron Schonke on Get Valiant on the last 2 episodes, and talking to the actors on Hoodoo TV, and we got Sierra Foster on the last episode of Get Valiant. Talking to all these people involved, I think that everybody involved would like to do more. But it just depends on whether Valiant and DMG are going to allow it. And the only way that they're going to allow it is if they see it as advancing their brand. And that's only going to be the case if they get a strong positive reaction. So if you do like it and you do want more, let them know. As one person in the live chat pointed out, there's a lot of negativity on the Valiant fans board. And that may entirely be true, and everybody is entitled to their opinion. I think that what I've noticed, and Hoosier, you can correct me if you think that I'm off base here, but what I've noticed is that for the most part, the people who have disliked the series are people who are assessing it and comparing it against things like Avengers or these gigantic blockbusters. Whereas everybody I've seen who has spoken about it as taking it for what it is has really enjoyed it. Has that been your experience too?
Slightly. I mean, there's a high there. There is that with the comparing it with things that you're seeing out, right? I mean, whether you consciously do it or not, you're going to kind of compare it to the things you're seeing currently with other elements. I was thinking about it, and part of it, and I might have said this in the show prior, but Dinesh hyped the crap out of it. He built this up and talked about how perfect it's going to be. You know what I mean? And do I quite think it lived up to what Dinesh hyped it up to be? Not quite. Do I think it was good for what we got? Yes. For the budget that was got? Yes. And I think that might have been what some of the downfall was the long wait that was there. I think that's kind of soured a lot of people with it initially because there was such anticipation. I think somebody even put that on the Jason Falter put that on the chat, that there was a lot of anticipation and excitement around it, and the wait kind of left that. So that's what made it hard. And I do think that it might be unwarrantedly compared to another higher budget piece. Is it as good as some of these CW DC shows that are out? No, those are pretty.
Really?
What's that?
You really don't think that it's as good? Like, because to me, I I am very surprised when I hear people say that they don't think that Ninjak Versus was as good or better than the CW shows, because everything I've seen from the CW shows has been way worse than Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe.
It's
Um,
better than DC Legends of Tomorrow, but
okay,
the
but I'm
Flash,
talking about like Arrow and Flash.
yeah, I think those are pretty decent. So I mean, but
I
like
think
yeah, like Jason
those
said,
are shit personally. Like the first season of Arrow was okay, and then
right.
by the end of the first season it was going bad, and the second season was just swirling down the drain, and the third season was utter shit. And the Flash was pretty much the same thing. It started kind of strong and swirled the drain real fast. I felt like Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe held really strong from episode to episode, and uh, I may or may not have gotten the opportunity to watch the whole thing with no intros and just watch it all as one movie. I can neither confirm nor deny that I got to watch it that way. But if I did get to watch it that way, it was amazing.
Okay.
And um, it's on a completely different level, in my opinion, from anything I've seen from I mean, pretty much any type of superhero project that isn't, $150 million movie, I think that this trumps it. I can't think of anything else that isn't, premiering in theaters that is on the same level. And even some of the stuff that has premiered in theaters. I mean, there were scenes in Justice League that, I mean, Ninja versus the Valiant Universe makes look like amateurs. So
I
I
mean,
don't know, man.
Justice League. I mean that's calling out one because there wasn't some great ones. That movie's a flawed movie. I think like the first couple seasons of Arrow were really good. I do think it, like I say, it compares to that. But I think what I mean. It reminded me, and this is what Aaron said. It reminded me of like an animated series. Just the pacing, how it came out, where it went. It that's what I felt really with it. So I
Yeah,
have
I
not
think
watched one setting like you did, or may not have.
that
But
I think that when he told us when we first interviewed Aaron on Get Valiant, I think it was episode 79, and he told us that he looked at it as like one of those DC animated movies like Justice League War or Batman and Son or whatever, any of those. I wasn't really sure what he meant by that. I thought maybe I got what he meant, but I wasn't sure. Now, having seen Ninja versus the Valiant Universe in its entirety, I totally get what he meant by that. It's very much like an Elseworld story that is just fun in and of itself. It leaves the door open for more. But even if there never is more in the future, it's still a really good version of these characters. Reading the comic book, and I really actually, now that I've seen this show, I want to go back and read the comic again. I just haven't gotten around to it. But I remember reading the comic, and I felt like that comic shows what can be great about a Unity comic.
right,
Because if there was a Unity comic that was out of canon and just fun, the way the Ninja versus the Valiant Universe comic was, and obviously the series was pretty much exactly the same thing, I would eat that up in a second. And more shows in the same vein, yeah, count me in 100%. I am totally there. So I don't know. I feel like actually classifying it as a success comes down to how many people it actually brings to the fandom
right.
and how many books are sold as a result of people watching it. But as far as I'm concerned, in my own personal view, it's a massive success.
Yeah, I would definitely say it was a success. I mean, it was quite enjoyable. A lot of people are getting visibility of Ninjak or of Valiant now, and yeah, to me, I think that it was awesome. I don't think it was bad by any means. I really enjoyed the show, and I think with what it was, I yeah, good. Hope it gets more readers. Hope it gets more people to it. It's a good show. And like I said, and I guess my point coming back to it is some of the negativity. I really do agree with some of the chatters that people are putting on the chat, but it was that anticipation and wait that got people so built up. Expectation
I didn't.
high.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't address when you had brought that up. I do actually agree with you there. I think that Dinesh had this view of the series, and because he was behind the scenes and because he was involved in making these decisions about when to roll out what, from his perspective, they were giving us a lot and they were, leading us into it, and it was an appropriate way to hype it. But I think that from our perspective, it was a lot different. It was, when he told you, for example, Hoosier, when he told you that, it was by this time you're going to be buried in Ninjak versus stuff.
Right.
And,
That's right.
and by that time, all we got was a couple of variant covers with pictures from the series. Now, was it cool to have those variant covers? Absolutely. But is that being buried in Ninjak versus? No, not even close.
I think the exact quote is you're going to be drowning in Ninjak versus news. And like you said, it was the cool covers. Those covers were top of the line. I think they talked about them on the last show, just the photographers that did it. It turned out really good. But yeah, like I said, that's kind of what I think. I think it was good. Yeah. So I'm glad it's out. I'm glad it got there, and I'm glad we have something that we could show people that they could see real quick.
So the last thing I want to address about this whole Ninjak versus thing, and then we'll move on. This has been killing me for the entire last week. When we had Sierra on, and I had basically asked her to fan cast her own character, and everybody was like, how the fuck dare you? And she clearly was not a big fan of that question. This has been destroying me for the entire last week. And you can ask my wife, like, she knows, like, this has been killing me.
I'm sorry, this is funny right now.
Oh, I'm sure it is hilarious on your side. On my side, it's
no. But if you remember, she's like, Eric, you were one of the guys that supported me. I watched the episodes on Hoodoo when you jumped on Hoodoo. I know you support me. I know you like me. She said that on the show. She didn't take offense. None of us took offense, but we always wanted to give you a little jab on, oh, great question.
But okay, so here's the way that I would phrase it if I get a chance to talk to Sierra again, which I really hope that I do. The way that I would phrase it now is, okay, so from my perspective, she perfectly embodied the character of Livewire. And so if something happens where she's not able to, where somebody else steps into that role, is there any actor that she would trust with the character? That was essentially what I was trying to get to. Because with the way a lot of those things go, she may not be allowed to do it if it goes to movies, right? Like, would I want her to do it? Yes, she would be my first choice, 100%. Like, if you said, you could, if Valiant came to me and said, Eric, who would you cast as Livewire? I would say, no question, 100%. Don't even audition anybody. Just go get Sierra Foster and you're done. But, in a world where where they're not going to ask me and they may want somebody, with bigger name recognition, I just was curious, what her thought on it would be. But again, yeah, I mean, I was happy that at least she understood that I wasn't trying to be like, you suck, who else should play the character? Because that's definitely not my feeling.
No, I don't think she got that at all. I really, yeah. I mean, if you had to do it, who would you say then?
Dude, okay, so here's actually why that question popped into my head. Because I was watching all this lead up and interviews for Infinity War, and Zoe Saldana looks a little bit like Sierra Foster. And so and I'm not saying that they're like twins or anything, but they could be like cousins maybe, right?
Who is that?
Zoe Saldana, Gamora.
Okay.
Uhura from the Star Trek movies. She's an awesome actor. And if I had to choose somebody other than Sierra, that was what was in my mind, was like, maybe Zoe Saldana could do it. But yeah, like I said, I mean, I would obviously rather have Sierra do it. She's already proven that she knows that character. She has it down 100%. But yeah, I mean, if you had to choose somebody who's, already in that world of tentpole movies and blockbusters and whatever, that was the first thing that popped to my mind.
Yeah, I was thinking the actress who plays Michonne, right? Danny Gurria.
Deny.
Deny. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
she's amazing in the Black Panther stuff and
Oh gosh,
Infinity
yes,
War.
yes.
Um,
But again, I agree. Sierra Foster killed it. I
oh
think
yeah,
just Livewire has gone through the Harbinger Foundation. She has been a little bit older, right? So I guess it would depend on who's cast as a Harbinger. Does Livewire should be looking older than the Harbingers, right? So that would be, it depends on who's the combo casting, right? She doesn't want to
I
look
don't
the
know that
same.
that's necessarily true because she's just been around Harada longer. That doesn't necessarily mean that she's older, right? Like she could be the exact same age as Pete, but she's been with Harada since she was 14.
I just
You know
gonna
what I
say
mean?
the level of her maturity kind of shows that she was older too.
Right. And that I totally agree. She's a more mature character, but I think that that also is partially due to the fact that of her history. And that's one of the things that I loved about when Sierra talked about Amanda McKee, when she talked about Livewire, she knew, she understood who she was. And you know, when I was watching some of her live streams on Instagram when she was watching the episodes, and she was talking about how, you know, that fight with Ninjak in the first episode, which I think everybody can agree that was an amazing fight. Um, and it was had my favorite moment of the whole series in that fight. And, she was saying that while she was filming that scene, she's thinking about all this stuff that Livewire has been through. She was Harada's right hand person, go to, right? She was his gopher. And then she had to turn her back on her mentor because, she had to stay true to her beliefs. Like that's a lot that she's been through. And for Sierra to care about that and dive that deeply into the character and bring that out on screen as well as she did, that's exactly why I gushed over her performance so much over the last couple weeks, and why if it was up to me and they were casting a movie, I would totally pick Sierra Foster as being Livewire because it's a crapshoot with any other actor how they're going to approach it. I already know that Sierra's going to approach it exactly the way I would want the character to be approached, so I know I'm going to be happy with it. But that was I just wanted to get all that out. I like I said, it's been killing me.
Don't let it kill you. That was, I mean, it actually is a good question to get that. Because I know that on at Emerald City, we actually went to Jodie Hauser and asked her who she would want to play Faith in a live action. And I mean, and she gave us the answer of just a new person. You know what I mean? Somebody brand new. She didn't actually have a name. While most people are saying like Rebel Wilson or something like that. But yeah, I think it's a good question to ask somebody who's played that role, has been in that role. She might have an idea, but like I said, and I love that she's taking claim to it, that she really wants it. And I love that she's actually, signing her name Livewire and she's all about it. I think that's freaking cool.
Yeah.
And
I
like
told her before we went live to forgive me if I accidentally referred to her as Livewire instead of Sierra, because in my head she's totally Livewire, you know? Like that's totally who she is. But anyway, that's pretty much like all the news that there is. I mean, we could probably I could sit here and talk about Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe for hours. Oh, you had to, already the live chat is responding to your comment about Rebel Wilson. I hate when people fan cast Faith as Rebel Wilson as Faith.
I agree.
I think that that's a horrible casting.
Agreed. It's just body sizing, and that's about it. Blonde hair, body size, and that's where a lot of people are coming from. And it's actually really shallow of a quick statement.
And there was actually an actress that somebody pointed out, and I can't remember her name for the life of me, but she looked like she would be perfect for the role, and she was just a relatively unknown actress. And there have been cosplayers who nailed the look and everything. So I mean, finding somebody who has the look, I don't think would be extremely difficult. It's just finding someone with the look and the acting ability and the right, age and all that stuff. And I just don't think Rebel Wilson is the right part. Jason is talking in the live chat about how people watch Ninjak and are really interested in Archer and Armstrong. And yeah, that's totally valid. I think Archer and Arms. I remember watching the first episode with my wife, and she's not very familiar with those characters. And there's that scene in the bar where they're introducing Archer and Armstrong. Archer knocks all the balls in, takes the guy's money, and then it's about to give him a star sticker. And my wife just turns to me and she's like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's totally Archer. Like, I know it seems ridiculous, but that's 100% his character. Like, to me, that was super accurate."
Yep. Yeah, he would just watch one video of trick shots and he would know it, right? That's part of his like psionic ability.
Oh, I meant trying to give the guy the sticker.
Oh, yes. Yeah, here's your gold star.
And for your donation, you get a happy star sticker. Because get the fuck out of here. I thought that was amazing. But yeah, I thought that whole scene was awesome. I love their fight scene in what was it, episode 5, I want to say.
Yes, that was phenomenal. Like that was really, really good.
They're back and forth with, "I can be the bad cop." Oh, is this doing anything for you, Colin?
And then having Kevin Porter on the show talking about how all that was improv.
Yeah.
Right? That was all just improv. Like that was great. They really got the characters really well. And that's what I get with a lot of these actors that were on that show is they took the time to learn the characters and try to get the heart of those characters. And I dug that.
See, one thing that worried me was that any or all of them would come into this going, "Okay, I'm just playing another character, give me my lines, and I'm done." But it sounded like pretty much every single one of them took it really seriously and acknowledged the fact that they were bringing these characters to life for the first time. And that's a really big deal. I remember Kevin, on Hoodoo TV talking about how like it was great to get positive feedback from people who don't know anything about Valiant, but getting the positive feedback from people who know and already care about the characters meant a lot more to him. And I think that made me feel good as a fan that, somebody of his caliber, same with Sierra. I mean, she obviously cared about the fact that fans of the material long before she was involved with it enjoyed her portrayal, because like I said, I mean, that just tells us as fans that they actually care what we think and our perspective as fans. And that, that's the great feeling as a fan.
Yeah, I think so too.
Anyway, so this will be like the 5th time I'm going to try to move on from Ninjak Versus. Just can't do it. So we have 2 weeks worth of books to review, but in the world of Valiant Comics, that's not very many. That's only 3 books rather. Jason mentioning Exo and Bloodshot flying next to each other. That was a fucking amazing scene. And I never would have thought about Bloodshot flying a jet like that because he's kind of more an on the ground operative in my mind. But when he's like, "I love my job," and blew up that plane, that was amazing. Anyway,
it was a little bit green screened when he was in there, though, in the flight, in the cockpit. But cool.
Wasn't really in a fighter jet at 30,000 feet? Are you serious?
Hey, it's a JDF, man. It reminded me of the Power Rangers a little bit.
Oh, now NES Master bringing up that there was no Quantum and Woody. I don't even want to talk about that. I'm actually kind of mad that Aaron told us that they were cast and they almost had it all ready to go. That's just frustrating. Now I really need to move on. So we've got 3 different books to review.
Wait. Since we're on the Ninjak Versus, have you ever seen the TV show Animal Kingdom?
Do you mean like nature documentary?
No, it's on, I believe, like TNT or something. Yes, and it's just like this hard, gritty. Oh man, I gotta pull up a picture for you and show you the picture. There's so many of the guys in this show that remind me of Valiant characters that I can just see playing a Valiant role. If you guys have seen this, I want to know what you guys thought. But this kid right here just totally reminds me that he could play Pete. He just has that look to me. There's another picture I could show you to make it. This guy looks like he could play Exo. This guy looks like Eternal. This looks like Ivar. But yeah, I just didn't know.
The Exo and Eternal guys.
What's that?
The one that you said looks like he could play Exo, I would say looks more like Galad and vice versa.
Vice versa. But But yeah, they just remind me that they could play Valiant characters, and especially I'm trying to think of what's the other. I don't know the guy's name, but he killed the role. He just looks so much like Pete. It's ridiculous. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I honestly, I just want to see anybody in the roles, and if they, as long as it's good, and if it's great, then even better. And that's why I would want to keep Sierra Foster as long as possible as Livewire, because she was more than good in that role. Anyway, for real though, I want to move on. Let's review some comic books.
Let's get in here.
Okay, so this bad boy right here, XO number 14. I don't know, man. I mean, I've been kind of down on the whole.
Oh, yeah.
You got it too?
Which cover did you have? Oh, A cover.
I'm rocking that A cover.
All right.
I've been kind of down on the entire Matt Kent Exo Manowar run, and I don't mean like, oh, it's a shit run, it's terrible, whatever, but it has not been great, right? Like, we've gotten some amazing stuff from Matt Kent, we've gotten amazing previous Exo stories, and I just feel like this has been mostly just all right, decent, pretty, like, maybe good, but not even like really good or anything, you know? And I'm glad that we're getting Arik coming back to Earth.
Right.
But a lot of this issue is just rehashing the last issue.
Yeah, I can see that definitely. Because I mean, it's like they almost just changed the color of the last issue on certain images and kind of reutilize those panels. You know, and I think part of this book and part of some people, because Venditti just killed it in the first 50. You know what I mean? And that's part of what I think, that there's some people that have an issue with this, are like, maybe rightfully so, comparing it to Venditti's run.
See, that's been my biggest struggle, is trying not to compare it to Venditti, right? Because I always got mad when people did that to Rafer, when people were knocking Rafer's Archer and Armstrong because it wasn't Ben Linty's, and I think that something needs to be judged on its own merit. Right. So I wouldn't say, like, am I thinking about Venditti's run? Absolutely. Like, I love that run, and that's definitely kind of the high watermark of Exo stories for me. But I'm not going to judge this poorly because it wasn't the same as Venditti's. I'm just judging it less than phenomenal because as what it is, I think it's less than phenomenal. I'm getting flashbacks to the 4001 AD event, also written by Matt Kent, where issue 4 basically spent the entire time rehashing the end of issue 3. And I feel like this issue was almost the same thing, where it just is rehashing the previous issue for almost the entire time, and very little of consequence actually happens in this issue. And it was really frustrating for me. A lot of people complained about the Bloodshot Salvation issue that didn't have art and was just blackout the whole time. Well, I would much rather buy 10 issues like that than buy an issue that just rehashes the previous issue. I don't care if it has art or not. If it's just going to rehash what we've already seen 1 month earlier, I'm not really that interested in it.
You mean you didn't like Arik swimming with whales? That didn't impress you much?
I'm not going to say that's a bad thing. I'm down for that. I'm down for, as long as we don't have to watch him getting humped by dolphins, I'm down for any kind of, ocean fun, whatever. Like, that's fine. Going into the sun and whatever other nonsense happened. But to me, like,
the one thing I had an issue with it was that ponytail that they gave him when he got back to Earth, and he's now meeting with Sana, and that ponytail. I mean, it looks like they were using a reference of some Chuck Norris there, which is not a bad thing, but that's what it reminds me of. Like, there was some pieces of this that were reused, and like, you're right, there's people that are giving that a hard time about that black issue. And then there's some people that hated that black issue and that loved it. So that's a mixed feeling. This one, I think it gets the job done. We get him back to Earth. We get to see I mean, part of it that was really concerning to me, I don't want to say concerning, might be the right word or wrong word, but where he's trying to fly into that star, and it's almost like he's trying to commit suicide or test Shanhara.
I figured he was just trying to commit suicide, which to me I thought made sense because he was just like he didn't want to be on Earth because of the Sana running him off, which I understand. There's a lot of talk in the live chat, people not really liking the way Sana's character has been handled, and I think that everything that's happening with Sana would be fine if we got more than a part of an issue explaining her position and her reasoning and everything, and then another issue just rehashing the previous issue's explanation. So if we had gotten a whole story about, where Sana was coming from and why she reacted the way she did, I think it would make a lot more sense. Like, I understand where she's coming from as a character, and I don't necessarily think it's super out of character. I just think it's really hard to go from everything we previously known about her to suddenly this is how she's reacting to something that we have very little context for.
Right. I agree. I think it's weird, the portrayal they're giving her, because I mean, knowing that Sana and Ari get back together in the fall of EXO, right? That they're going to get back together. It's just kind of a weird portrayal. It plays another element. I wonder how long ago in editorial did they think of something like this, of Nolo getting in there and kind of easing up on Arc's woman. However, Arc got with Shone what she was the rebound.
Yeah, and I like that Arik was mature about the whole Volo thing, and I hope that he doesn't go back on that and start being a little bitch about it, because I think that would be kind of dumb. But I am looking through the issue right now, and I didn't really notice the ponytail thing before, but now it's killing me. You just had to bring that up. But I do like,
they said a little bit of Arik being in Rome, and just they're kind of connecting that to being the next arc, which I kind of like that they're not integrating it within continuity of current Harbinger War stuff that's happening. So there's parts of it that I can't stand, that just sepia tone colors that are in some of those in the past shots. And then I guess the other question I had, and if he was just going to go to Goran and throw Shanhara in a closet, why didn't he just do that on Earth?
Because she told him to get out of there, right? And he didn't, it would be too painful to stay on Earth while he's having to deal with his child dying and his wife hating him and blaming him for it. I would want to leave too, right? And for Arik, you can't just move to the next city. You can't even move to the next country, because when you're a global presence, you basically have to leave the planet. So I feel like that.
I don't know, but Sana was just basically saying, I don't care how you do it. I just want it gone. Talking about Shanhara.
I don't know. I'm not going to dive that deep into it. I think overall, though, like I said, I just think that this is another mediocre entrance into what for me has been a barely better than mediocre series in general. For me, this comes with the art is absolutely beautiful, and that's what saves this issue for me. I think on the writing side, I'm not very happy with this, but the art is phenomenal. So I come in at a 3 out of 5 on this, and that's about the best I can give it.
I know we already filmed one for Hoodoo TV, and I forgot what I gave it. I believe I gave it it was in I think it was a 3.5, 3.75. I'm just glad he's back on Earth. I love the way Livewire connected with him, and that it's setting it back up to, it leads right into Harbinger Wars with Capshaw coming after him after he's back down farming. And I do like that last page. He's back in Earth farming. Capshaw comes towards him, and then it goes back to issue number 1, where they talked about the gears of war always coming back to him, which I liked how that reconnected with issue number 1 of him and Goran, and you get to see that same. That
See,
was
coming
cool.
full circle like that, though, bringing it all full circle like that makes me feel like everything that has happened has been worthless. Like this whole story has been to bring him back to exactly the same point he was when the story started. And if there's no character growth, what's the point of the story?
But I believe there is some character growth. Then it'll be played out. I also think that hey, we got the bounty hunters that I think are going to lead into Psylords. So that last arc gave us something.
Yeah, but that's no. I don't know, man. There's no character growth. That was another thing that, not to compare this too much to Venditti's run, but another thing I liked about Venditti's run is every single arc moved arc forward as a character, and I just don't feel like that's happened here. This has just been a study of him being the same stubborn guy the whole time.
Right. And Jason says something in here. I like that the armor now talks. That's something cool. And I do like that it created that relationship with both Shanhara and Arik a little bit more. I do think that was one thing that this had brought to the table.
I do like the armor talking, but again, I just want some actual development with Arik's character.
Yep.
Anyway, moving on to another book, Shadow Man #2, again rocking out the A cover here.
And
you have that one?
I just got the digital here, so.
Oh, just the digital. Yeah, man. I mean, Shadow Man. I remember really liking the Justin Jordan stuff, which didn't last very long, and then the Peter Milligan stuff took a pretty quick nosedive. And then we had no Shadow Man for a while. Then we just got the Magpie. So I've been really curious to see what's going to come of the character now that he's getting his own book again, and he's moving on from the Magpie identity. And as much as this isn't like before this book came out, I could say I know I did say several times what I wanted from the book, and I don't know that I've gotten what I wanted from the book, but it's still really good.
It is. I love how many moving parts are already in it. Like this issue bringing back the Brethren. Heck yes. And then just seeing how much of just pretty much badass that Alyssa's going to be, and how much and that this is just in 2 issues. We're going to see a whole lot more.
Yeah, I think that like the first issue did a lot to like set up what could be a massive story. Andy Diggle was able to drop some references to different things that could take a very, very long time to bring to fruition, and that's really exciting to me. Going back to the Venditti XO run, that's another thing that I love is that there were things in that issue #1 that were still being referenced and redefined and were important to the story 30, 40 issues later. And if Diggle is able to do that even for 2 years with this title, I'll be extremely happy. I love that kind of long form telling. And then I also really like this this evil dude that's like siphoning the life force from children. That's some creepy, horrible shit. And perfect villain, right? Because I don't know, man. Like I think that's an awesome villain. I think that he's a really cool character. I think that all the interaction between Jack and, oh my God, I never remember her name.
Alyssa? Yeah.
Okay. I thought so. I thought that was really good. The art on this has been awesome. Like I do think that I wouldn't put Segovia as like my favorite Valiant artist. There are a lot of artists at Valiant that I like more than I like his stuff. But when you put him together with Ulysses Ariola, it's really, really good. Like they're doing some really awesome work. And I don't know, man. I'm just stoked for more. Yeah,
I could say with like the art too. I don't think there's many pages I pass by and be like or a panel necessarily I look at and I was like I didn't like it. His art is looking pretty dang good. I like I say, that we're getting more of the abettors back. They're bringing that concept of the abettors coming in. We're getting more of just the whole Shadow Man, full world view coming in. spoilers. I guess we didn't even tell people we're spoiling, but we're spoiling the crap out of this stuff.
Oh, sorry about that, everybody. Hopefully you've read these books.
Yes. But I do think it's funny at the end of the book that we get Shadow Man back in the dead side.
Yeah, I thought that like so on the one hand, I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, he just got out of the dead side and you're throwing him back. So I felt like on that from that perspective, I was like, I don't want them to just rehash old shit like, oh, let's throw him in the dead side and then he'll come back and then he'll go to the dead side again and then he'll come back. You know what I mean? Like I don't want that. But I have to believe that that's not what's going to happen. I have to believe that like with as much nuance and ability as Diggle is showing with the story so far, I'm pretty confident that him going back to the dead side is for a good reason story wise. And I, for one, am stoked to see how it plays out. I think that the monsters, like, to me, this is like a really good horror movie wrapped inside of an awesome drama. And I think that that is a recipe for some really good stories.
And we even get some zombies in this one too, which is really cool.
Right?
Right. I like Baron Samedi. I like that there's more of him in there, and then just it's tying a lot more in to this like voodoo rituals, voodoo cultures, which I think is where Shadow Man's bread and butter. That's where he needs to like live and die around that. Is just that voodoo culture. There's going to be some really cool pieces with it. I like Diggle's writing, dude. I just think it's good so far. It's been really a nice place to have Jack back.
Yeah. Well, this is actually the first Andy Diggle I've ever read, and if this is an indication of how he writes comics, I'm becoming a fan for sure. I want to see a couple of arcs before I really decide how I feel about this run overall. But so far, for 2 issues in, I think it's a really good start. It feels like he's got a real handle on all the characters involved. He's bringing in awesome characters. And then
I do think it's I see a lot of parallel with a lot of Valiant stories right now, though. Knowing that seeing solicitations of future, like finding out the old Shadow Men, it makes a lot of sense in where they're at. But I just think the timing of having Ninja K and kind of going back with all the previous ninja programs or ninjas through the ninja program, and now we're going to go back and see the previous Shadow Men through all the ones that have carried that legacy on. And then I think that's kind of a weird connection there. I just hope Shadow Man doesn't have a kid now. I hope Jack doesn't have a kid because everybody else has freaking had a kid right now. So if he does that, that's one positive right now. I mean, because Exo just had one, Abrams had one, Bloodshot's had one. There's too many dang kids right now, and not enough babysitters. So
maybe that would be a good arc. Getting Quantum and Woody to babysit everybody's kids.
That would be great.
I want to see Quantum and Woody trying to babysit Divinity and Mishka's child. I think that would be that's a great idea for a one-shot. But no, I mean, for this book, like I said, the art, coming from that EXO issue, I feel like the EXO issue, the art was so strong, but the writing just fell flat for me. And I feel like Shadow Man is a bit of a reverse for that, but the art isn't that. Like, it's not as low down as what I would think of as the writing on EXO. So for me, like, the writing on this really, really shines, and the art is still really strong. So I'm going to give this book a 4.25. I do think that it's a really strong book. It's definitely something that I would recommend people pick up. And I think after we're a couple arcs in, if it holds this level of quality, this is definitely something I'm going to be screaming from the rooftops that more people get into.
And when a new writer gets on a new book and we're just getting the first couple issues, it's really hard to score the book because, they're setting a lot of tone of where they're going in the story. So it's, I feel like it's really hard to kind of score some of these. But I am going to be right there with you. I feel like I see a direction, and it feels like it's got a good path to set. The foundation is pretty fun so far. So I'm going to be right there with you. 4.25. I dig it so far.
Yeah. So. Yeah, this has been really good. Yeah. I'm really happy with where the book is. Like I said, it's not what I wanted before the title started, but I'm okay not getting what I wanted as long as I'm getting something good, and I am. So I'm pretty happy about that. So yeah, definitely a strong continuation, strong continuation for the beginning of this new Shadow Man book. And hey, for Andy Diggle coming in, this being his first time writing a Valiant book, I think that's great. You know, I mean, he's not like, it doesn't feel like he's just now getting his bearings, you know. And I also did read an interview where he said he did a lot of research into voodoo so that he could write the voodoo parts of the book with some authority and knowledge of what he's talking about. And I think that that just speaks perfectly to why this book is working.
There is so much cool voodoo stuff out there. It is so in depth. You know, having gone to Haiti, like the home of voodoo, I am, yeah, I'm pumped up to have that voodoo, like I say, be a base of this story.
So then the last issue that we have to review is this beast with one of my favorites on the cover, Live Wire.
Raul Allen, Patricia Martin, like that cover there is freaking awesome. And it's Sierra Foster right there. It's freaking awesome. And then what, 2 pages in, that, you know, just that callback to Harbinger #1, dude. You know what, right here, right? Call back to this one right behind me.
Oh yeah, it's like the first page of story in the book. I thought that was awesome too when I saw that. That was a really interesting way to begin this. So I've seen a lot of positive reviews of this book. So I feel like I have liked it like probably less than just about anybody. Like, I'm not saying I hate this book, but I just don't think I enjoyed it as much as most people seem to have. Like, where did you fall on this?
I really loved it. And it partly where it comes back to that is a lot of the tie-ins that come into it, but just that very end page. I did the wrong things for the right reasons, right? And just, I mean, she shut down the world, and I think that's where it's at, and it's kind of getting into that piece. Like, I guess, you know, I heard Dinesh say it a million times, the moral ambiguity, the moral ambiguity of characters is what makes Valiant so good. Sometimes doing the wrong things for the right reasons, and going that route. And I think this is it. I mean, they're going to be enemy #1 around the world now because of this too. The Psyop took out all the powers, all the satellites. What's this going to do? You know, how many people died because of this event? You know, what's going on with it?
So one thing that, you know, that moral ambiguity made me think of, have you ever watched the show Luther?
No.
It's a really, really good,
about Luther Vandross?
No. It's a really good British cop show, like detective show, with Idris Elba as the main character, John Luther.
Okay.
And there's a moment in one of the episodes where, because he's the kind of character who's always doing the wrong thing for the right reasons. And there's a moment where he and his partner are in a compromising situation, and they're trying to figure out what to do. And his partner's like, well, what should we do? So he tells his partner what they should do. And his partner's like, you got to know that's wrong. That is so wrong. And you have to know it's wrong. And Luther's like, of course I know it's wrong. I'm not stupid. Of course I know that this is wrong. So his partner says, okay, well, if you know it's wrong, then why are we doing it? And Luther said, because it's right. And that to me is like the perfect summation of that show. Luther is the guy who will do the wrong thing because it's right. And I feel like what made Dysart's run on Harbinger so good was that there was no clear like, Pete is the good guy and Harada's the bad guy. Pete's a rapist, right? Like, he is not a good guy. Okay. But then again, Harada's not that great of a guy either. And you know, Pete's doing bad things with noble intentions, and Harada is doing bad things with noble intentions. And they're kind of, you know, clashing over their differing views. And I think that not having a clear cut, oh, this guy's the good guy, this guy's the bad guy, is what made that run, is part of what made that run so good. And, you know, if Harbinger Wars 2 is going to tap into that, I'll definitely be happy. I know, like, Chris in the live chat is saying that he's saying, you know, expressing some disappointment with Livewire and Pete and actually agreeing with the government right now. And I don't know if I could go that far, but I do think that Livewire's action here is a little rash, right? Like, I think she maybe overreacted a little bit, but maybe she just didn't see any other option.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I see that as I do think she overreacted on it. I guess the one thing I don't like, I mean, and this probably doesn't go to this issue. This goes further back to that, is just how they're not really showing any of the gray of Hardcore. Like, they're all just like the worst people ever. Hardcorps is like, you know what I mean? They're completely bad in the last issues of books they've been in, versus having some like, okay, I get what they're going. I understand where they're coming from.
I don't see Hardcore as good or bad. I see them as taking orders. And whether that's good or bad is a whole completely different conversation. But as far as their actions in the books, so if you see them as bad, then that means that you're seeing the people telling them what to do as being bad.
Yeah.
And they're just bad for being willing to go along with it. And I think, though, if you're Gunslinger, you do your job, right? That's what you're there for, and that's what you care about, is doing your job and doing it well. And I don't think that he has really any other choice besides either doing his job or almost having to wage a one-man war against his employers. And I don't think anybody would want to do that.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, because what it is Omen. Yeah, but I mean, just the way he's, I don't know. It's almost like he doesn't question it, and that makes me not like him. You know what I mean? To like at least question what's going on with him. And he's kind of just doing it without any question, and just, yeah. So that's kind of what I'm getting at with that.
I get that, and I don't disagree, but I think that just becomes a philosophical argument about accepting authority. And I think that, you know, one of the things we like in our comic book characters is that they put doing what's right ahead of doing what they're told. Like, that's one of the reasons I love Captain America so much in the Marvel movies, because he always puts doing what's right above doing what he's told. And you know, Livewire obviously is the same way. She's not just going to listen to what somebody else thinks that she should do. She's going to assess the options and find what she feels is the best choice. And I definitely admire that. Even if she does make some mistakes, I would rather she would do it that way. And Hardcore just doesn't do that. They don't question. But I don't think that their role is to question. You know, like, if I was, like, if you were the person drafted into Hardcore, it's because that's your only option in life, and you agree at that point that you're just going to follow orders. So I think it makes sense for them to just be following orders and not really doing anything else.
Yeah, and the Travis falls on a point. If he doesn't follow orders, his head blows up. I get that.
Good point, Travis. Good call.
That's a good call. But I mean, it's almost like he's enjoying it a lot too. but
I think that he is invested. I think that he does get invested, but I think that he almost, like, if I was Gunslinger and I didn't believe in what I was being told to do, but I knew I had to do it or my head would explode, I would find a way to convince myself that it was the right thing to do and just move on, right? And then just focus on the goal and, you know, try to make myself oriented toward that, right? And I think that that's what he has to do. So
rationalize it a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, you kind of have to, or you got to kill yourself.
Forward, what do you think about where the secret weapons are? With like Owen using his powers appropriately, Avi using his powers the way they flew out the roof and both turned into statues.
Even Lucia or whatever her name is, was able to use her powers productively and constructively. I think there's been a bit of time, so it makes sense that they would have been working on things, and I'm happy to see that. But honestly, at the end of the day, this, all it does is serve to make me more upset that we don't have a secret weapons ongoing. Honestly, I mean, that's that's where I'm at after reading that. I think that there's a lot of
that we're not getting Heiser back for half of the wars going on. So, but okay.
Yeah, I think that okay, so here's basically where I come in on this issue. You know, art wise, awesome. I didn't used to like Raul Allen and Patricia Martin as much as I do now, but they pretty much can do no wrong in my eyes at this point. And I think that this issue is another example of why they're an amazing team and why I want to read pretty much anything that they work on. Writing wise, I think Heiser has a voice for these characters that is so clear and comes across so well. I think it makes him one of the best writers I'm reading, and which again makes it that much more sad that we don't have an ongoing. And but as far as looking at this as the lead up to an event, I just I felt a little let down in that regard. I just don't feel like this is. I guess I was kind of hoping that this would do more to put all the pieces in play for the whole event, and I feel like all it really did was it moved 1 point forward, which is Livewire shutting down electricity in North America, and it reminded us of where the secret weapons kids are at in terms of their powers and physically and whatever. But I think those are the only two things that this really did story-wise. Emotion-wise, it's a great book, but story-wise, I just don't feel like it had. Maybe my expectations were just too high, but for me, I end up coming in at like a 3.75 on this book. I really wish I could give it a higher score, but I got to be honest.
I think I came in a little bit higher than you. I mean, I like the story, and part of it might be just happy to get Secret Weapons back, to have a Heiser, to have these characters I enjoy. It seems like there's some more pairing up with Avi and Lucia, and it's like we already have Owen and Nikki kind of pairing up, so I kind of don't like that. And maybe it's just Avi being a nice guy, which is likely so. But
he does seem like a really nice guy.
He does seem like a really nice guy. I want him to have a 0 issue. I really hope he gets a 0 issue. Really bad. Lucia, she almost had her 0 issue in Harbinger Wars 2-0, mail-in one. So, I'd like to get Avi to have one. And I'm going to agree with you. I do think that to have an event start on this, I felt like there should have been more. There should have been. Could this have been handled a little quicker to get more into it? But I'm also happy that we're going to get the #1 issue of Harbinger Wars 2-1, not Harbinger Wars 2 Prelude 1. I'm happy that we're getting that soon. I'm hoping that's coming out this month. But I'm going to be like, I'm trying to think of where I gave this on. We did one on Hoodoo TV that is being edited right now, but I gave it I think a 4.5. I enjoyed it. I can't wait to see where it goes. And like I said, I hope we get the gray characters. This, every point is on the right. Just like with the first Harbinger War, where, you had Bloodshot and his crew, you had Harada and his crew, you had the Psyots, and then everywhere the Gen Zero kids, where there was a bunch of people and they all had their perspectives. So I hope it does show a lot of perspectives that make different points of view seem like they're correct, and everybody's trying to do it for the right reasons, type of thing.
Yeah, this is something, I'm an aspiring writer myself, so I've been reading a lot of books on writing. And one thing that, I was reading about recently that kind of put some things in perspective for me character-wise is that, for the vast majority, I would say like 99+% of all people in the world, no matter what they're doing, believe that they're doing the right thing for how they view the world. Even serial killers who are heinous monsters, in their minds at the moment, they're just doing what they have to do. And, I don't want characters who are the mustache twirling, I'm the bad guy. You know what I mean? Because that's not interesting, right? I want that Harada Peter dynamic where they're both genuinely doing the best thing for the world is from their perspective. And yeah, I mean, as long as we continue getting that, the other thing I'm really curious about, what are we going to get from Solomon? What are we going to get from Alpha? Like, there's so much stuff that Harbinger Renegade kind of opened up and then just never went anywhere. That I'm really curious what that's all going to mean when we get into Harbinger Wars 2. Like you said, I'm glad that Harbinger Wars 2 #1 is coming up quickly. I'm curious if Harada is going to be involved. You know, Jason is mentioning that it sucks that.
I agree with that. And I was thinking back to this book too. One thing that I thought it does show the need for Harada more so, right? Look how bad things have gotten since Harada's left with the Psyops, where they're at. Look what happened in Rook. I mean, with the Harbinger Foundation, he kind of held everything in check. He picked and chose, and he helps people manage their powers outside of the Willows. But yeah, I actually hope that Harbinger Wars 2 ends with Harada back.
Well, at least we know we're getting the Dysart Harada book early next year. So if he's not really super involved in this book, I'll be okay with it, knowing that we're getting more Harada. I just hope that after Dysart kind of puts his end cap on it, that we do get more Harada after that.
I agree with the, maybe this will tie it in. I'm not sure. I want it to happen. Yeah, however it gets in there, I'm ready for it. So, but I love Heiser. We need more Eric Heiser for sure.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with that more. I definitely want a lot more of him. If we don't, I don't know, man. I just
that obvious hero.
I think that what I would love to see, what I would actually love to see after Dysart does his Harada book at the beginning of next year, if we could get Heiser writing a Harbinger book, I think that would be like the most amazing thing ever. I think that would be perfect.
Agreed. Yeah, and that's kind of been a question that's gone around places is, you know, what are going to be the live wire, or what are going to be the ongoings after? You know, we did our interview with Warren, and he said there was plans for more more ongoings after Harbinger Wars. So that leaves to believe, what is Harbinger Wars going to lead to? Is it going to lead to multiple books? Is it going to lead to a Harbinger? Is it going to lead to a Psylords? What's it going to come out of it? But I really do hope after having a event called Harbinger Wars that you have a Harbinger ongoing.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. But yeah, so those are the books that we had to review. Obviously, this was a prelude. So as far as what Harbinger Wars 2 is going to be, who knows? This did obviously just set the stage. But in the spirit of looking forward, next week we're actually not getting any single issues coming out. We're just getting the Wrath of the Eternal Warrior Deluxe Edition, which is going to be $50, and that's really big price tag. I wish I could afford that because I would love to have that series in that collected format because it is really good and I want to read it again. But
did you happen to get the issue of the free comic book day for Saturday?
Yeah, I don't even want to talk about that though.
Yeah, you guys should talk about it next week on your show after everybody else gets to.
Yeah, Josh and I will probably talk about that. But really, I mean, I don't know that there's a whole lot to say. I mean, unless there's more in the printed edition than what we got in that press edition, because but here's the other side of that though. Like as a fan who keeps up with everything, I always want more content. I want new things.
Oh, you got Bloodshot Salvation next week too, and Ninja K.
Wait, am I looking at the wrong thing?
Yeah. Or wait, no. You said no. There's no book at all.
Yeah, for May 9th. The only thing coming out from Valiant is that hardcover.
Okay. I was looking. I guess their calendar said Wrath on April 11th, and that's what got me thrown off. Okay, never mind. We're in May. Don't even know what month it is. But
Okay,
yeah,
so
I hope there's more in that the free comic book day than what we got initially.
so here are the two sides of the whole free comic book day thing, right? So from my perspective, as the guy that reads everything, I want every new thing that comes out to give me more content, to give me deeper insight into the characters in the universe, et cetera, et cetera. So in the past, when we've gotten free comic book day issues and they've offered new tidbits or exclusive content that you don't get anywhere else, like there was a Bloodshot story in a free comic book day issue that led into Bloodshot Reborn, right? Like that was after the Valiant, before Bloodshot Reborn. And that was amazing, and you can't get that anywhere other than a certain collected edition and that free comic book day issue. That's a super cool thing to do with a free comic book day issue. On the other hand, the real purpose of free comic book day is not to just give people who already buy the books free content. Yes, it's cool when companies do that, but the purpose is to bring in new readers. And the way that you bring in new readers is showing them the best of what you've got to offer. So the fact that in that free comic book day issue, we're getting some pages from the Harbinger Wars 2 Prelude. We're getting pages from Shadow Man. We're getting pages. What was the other one that was in there? There was a third.
Shadow Man, Harbinger Wars 2. I think that was it.
No, there was a third one in there.
Okay.
I'm like 99% sure there was another one in there. Now I'm going to have to look it up. You got some Jeopardy music while I look it up?
Some Jeopardy music going on.
But no, I mean, the point being that
well, and last year's was kind of fun. Last year's what they had how Shone and Arik met in Goran. So I mean, there was a couple little stories added in there, and then some prior ones.
Oh, there was parts of XO14. Sorry,
Okay.
That's what was up. That's the other thing that was in here. Was XO14. So those are kind of the big tentpole books right now, though. Harbinger Wars 2, they're pumping huge. Shadow Man, they're pumping really big. And XO is a big book right now, and has some of their best sales numbers. So, that's a good way to bring new people in. I think Ninjak versus the Valiant Universe has caught certain people's attention, and if they go grab the free comic book day issue, hopefully they'll see something that they like in there, whether that's the XO book, Shadow Man, Harbinger Wars 2, all of the above. As long as more people are getting into the books and supporting the company, then that means that we'll continue getting these books and getting these characters on the shelves every month. And hopefully, it will lead to a bigger line in the future of the same high quality books.
What year was it that it's probably, I think it was 16, where they had the free comic book day, and it basically gave you an introduction of all of like some of the major characters. That was probably my favorite one that happened.
They did handbooks for a while. Like they were doing handbooks every year for like 3 years in a row, and I thought that was really cool. But I don't know. Oh. Yeah, why are Ninjak and Bloodshot coming out the same week? Why don't they just release all the Valiant books on one Wednesday? It's like one big dump.
That's one question that I've been asking Valiant fans, and I guess since on here, as Valiant fans, what would be your prime number of books? I know we've been getting like anywhere from 6 to 8. What? I guess it's quality over quantity. But wanting more.
That's my whole thing.
Yeah.
See, I'm fine with 15 books a month if they're all high quality books. But I would rather get 6 quality books a month than 15 just mediocre books every month.
But what if there's 6 mediocre books?
Well, then something's really wrong.
Right?
Yeah, if they can't get 6 books out a month and keep them all high quality, then there are more issues. There's more problems that need to be addressed.
Yeah. But yeah, they haven't been mediocre. There's been some really good ones with Ninja K, Bloodshot, digging them. So, yeah.
Oh, man. So, I don't know. Good stuff. Thanks again for coming on, Hoosier. I really appreciate that.
For sure, enjoy it, man. It's been a blast, and thanks for coming on for our Ninjak reactions, Ninjak versus. That was good, and
Yeah.
yeah,
Next season of Ninja Versus, I'll do it again. I'll come on and chat it all with you.
that's
Crossing my fingers that we get it.
mix. And I just can't wait for the gag reel. Hopefully, they end up doing the Quantum and Woody. The gag reel, especially the gag reel, I could see that being funny, especially the Archer and Armstrong that they talked about with them driving around. Yeah.
Like half an hour of just them yelling at each other in the Jeep or whatever. I'm down for that. But yeah, thanks everybody for watching. Really appreciate everybody tuning in and hanging out with us, nerding out, talking for like half of the time about Ninja Versus. Yeah, appreciate everybody. Hopefully you guys are enjoying Valiant books. Come back next time. Same Valiant time, same Valiant channel. And yeah, we will talk more Valiant, even though there won't be a brand new book, but we'll find some stuff to talk about. Hopefully we start getting more movie news, but maybe that's a little premature. Either way, thanks again, everybody.
I figured out what I'm missing now.
Oh,
I didn't have a freaking beer with me. Dang it.
Oh, I've cut so far back on my drinking that I don't do drunk episodes anymore. That might be even more interesting now that we're doing video, because I haven't had a really drunk episode since we started doing video. We'll probably keep it that way. Oh man. Yeah, Jason said the show should be 2 hours. We probably could talk for 2 hours, but we'd really need enough content to make it worth it. But no, chatting is always good. Thanks again, everybody, for coming along. Signing off. I'm Eric Baumgard.
And I'm Hoosier with Hoodoo TV.
Thanks, everybody. Stay DMG.
Ugh.